Morrow walked slowly along the empty road as the city lights blinked far behind him. His legs felt heavy after a long day of work, and his shoulders ached from lifting boxes for hours. He worked at a small delivery center that always needed extra hands. Morrow never complained, because every small amount of money helped him take care of his son at home. His son, Timo, was only 8, a bright kid with a heart full of questions. Morrow always tried to answer them with patience, even when he felt tired. He wanted Timo to grow up with hope. The wind felt cold that night as Morrow approached the old steel bridge. It was a long structure that crossed a deep river. The river was wide and dark, and in the daytime people walked across the bridge to reach the city center. At night, it was quiet, almost silent, except for the sound of the water touching the pillars below. Morrow placed his hands inside his thin jacket. It was not warm enough for the cold night, but he had grown used to this kind of weather. He took a slow breath and tried to focus his mind. The bills at home were piling up again. He had to pay rent by the end of the week. He needed new shoes for Timo because the old ones were starting to tear. He also needed to buy some food. There were so many things to think about that his head felt full. Still, Morrow kept walking. The night was peaceful in its own way. He liked moments like this, when there were no loud voices or heavy machines. Only the soft sound of wind brushing past the metal railings died as he reached the middle of the bridge. Something made him stop. At first, he thought his eyes were tired. Perhaps he was seeing something that was not there. But when he blinked, the shape was still there. A girl stood near the edge of the bridge. She was alone, facing the dark water below. Her figure was small and still. The wind pushed her hair to the side, but she did not move. Her hands rested on the railing. Morrow felt a strange pressure in his chest. Something was wrong. She looked too close to the edge. Too still for someone enjoying the night view. Morrow looked around. There was no one else on the bridge. No cars, no bicycles, no pedestrians. Just him and the girl. He took a careful step forward. Maybe she was just resting. Maybe she was waiting for someone. Maybe she was thinking deeply about something. But something felt unusual. Something felt off. He stepped closer. The girl still did not turn around. Morrow cleared his throat softly. He did not want to scare her. "Are you all right?" he asked in a steady voice. He tried to sound calm and friendly. He did not want her to feel threatened. The girl did not respond. Morrow felt a small wave of worry rise inside him. He took another step. Then another. The metal bridge floor echoed with each step, but she still did not turn around. "Miss," he said gently, "it is late. Are you fine?" The girl slowly turned her head. Her face came into view under the dim street light. She looked young, maybe in her teens. Her expression was flat, like she had no emotion at all. Her eyes were dark and calm. Too calm for someone who had been standing in such a dangerous place. For a moment, Morrow felt something strange in her gaze, something unearthly. But he pushed the thought away. He was tired. His mind was playing tricks. "You should step away from the edge," Morrow said, with a firm but gentle tone. "It is not safe there." The girl blinked slowly. She did not move from her spot. The wind pushed her hair again, but she remained still. Morrow took a breath, preparing himself to speak again. He did not want to frighten her. He did not want to make her step forward in panic. He tried again. "You do not have to stay there. If something is wrong, you can tell me. If you need help, I can call someone." The girl turned her head away from him and looked back toward the river. Her fingers tightened around the cold railing. Morrow felt his heartbeat quicken. He stepped closer, no longer caring about being careful. "Please step back," he said. Louder this time. "You are scaring me now." Still no response. Morrow stopped only a few steps behind her. He could feel the tension growing in his chest. He had read stories about people who stood like this, silent, lost in thought. Stories that did not end well. He could not walk away. He could not leave her there. He looked at her thin frame. She wore light clothing that did not match the cold temperature. Her hands were pale. Her posture looked strangely calm for someone so close to danger. "Listen," Morrow said softly. "If you think no one cares, you are wrong. Someone cares. I care right now, so please step away from the edge." The girl whispered something, but her voice was so soft that Morrow could not understand. He stepped closer and leaned slightly forward. "What did you say?" he asked. She whispered again. This time he heard it. "I do not belong here." The words chilled him, not because they were dark, but because of the tone. Her voice had no sadness or fear. It was simple and flat, as if she was stating a fact. Morrow shook his head. "You do belong here. Maybe you are going through something, but you still belong. You can find help. You can find someone to talk to." She did not respond. Then she began to lean forward. Morrow reacted instantly. He reached out, grabbed her arm, and pulled her backward with all his strength. The girl stumbled back into his chest. He held her tightly, afraid she might try again. "Stop," Morrow said firmly. "Please stop. You do not have to do this." The girl did not fight him. She did not struggle. She simply stood there, quiet in his arms. Her breathing was steady, too steady. Morrow loosened his grip a little, but he kept one hand on her shoulder. "What were you doing?" he asked in a concerned voice. "Do you know how dangerous that was?" She lowered her head slightly. "I was not trying to harm myself." Morrow blinked. "Then what were you doing at the edge like that?" She looked up at him. Her eyes were calm. "I was trying to go home." Morrow frowned in confusion. "Home? Do you live near the river?" She shook her head slowly. "No, my home is far, very far." Morrow let out a breath. He rubbed his forehead with his free hand. "All right, let us take this one step at a time. Do you have a name?" She hesitated. Then she said, "Nia." "Nia." Morrow repeated, "Okay, my name is Morrow. I am only trying to help." Nia looked at him with an unreadable expression. "You did help," she said. "I would have fallen if you had not pulled me back." Morrow felt a lump in his throat. He looked at her carefully. "Are you hurt?" "No," she answered. "Do you live with your family?" he asked. She shook her head. "Do you have a place to stay tonight?" She looked away, and Morrow understood the answer. The night wind blew against them again, and Morrow felt himself shiver. Nia did not seem cold. She stood calmly as if the wind did not touch her. Morrow sighed. He could not leave her alone. She needed shelter, and he could not simply walk away. He took care of people when they needed him. That was the kind of person he wanted to be, not only for himself but for his son to see one day. "There is a small shelter near the other side of the bridge," Morrow said. "They take people in. They will give you a blanket and some food. I can walk you there if you want." Nia studied him for a moment, as if she was trying to understand something important. Then she nodded. "All right," she said. Morrow released her shoulder and stepped aside so she could walk beside him. She moved at a slow, steady pace, her steps light and precise. As they walked, Morrow glanced at her more than once. Something about her seemed unusual. The way she looked at the world, the way she moved, the way she spoke. But he did not question her further. Not yet. She had been standing on the edge of a bridge in the middle of the night. She needed space. They reached the end of the bridge and began walking through a small park area that led toward the shelter. The trees rustled gently with the wind. The streetlights flickered overhead. Nia suddenly looked up at the sky. Her eyes focused on something distant. "What are you looking at?" Morrow asked. She answered without turning her head. "I thought I saw a signal." A signal? From who? She did not answer. Morrow frowned but chose not to press her yet. He felt she was holding something back, something important. After a few more minutes, they arrived at the shelter. A warm light glowed from inside the small building. Morrow pushed open the door for her. A kind older woman at the front desk greeted them. She smiled at Nia and handed her a blanket. Morrow stepped aside and watched Nia quietly. She looked around the shelter with curiosity, almost like everything was new to her. Morrow felt a strange thought pass through his mind. It was a wild idea, one that made no sense. But he pushed it away. He turned to leave, but before he stepped out, Nia looked at him. "Morrow," she said, "thank you for saving me." He nodded. "Get some rest, Nia. You are safe now." But as he walked into the cold night again, he knew one thing with certainty. Nia was not an ordinary girl, and whatever she was hiding, he had only caught the first glimpse of it tonight. Morning sunlight touched the city slowly. warming the quiet streets and waking the people who hurried toward buses and shops. Morrow walked with a tired body but an alert mind. He had barely slept after leaving Nia at the shelter. His thoughts kept spinning like a wheel that refused to stop. He wondered who she really was and why she had been on the bridge with that strange, calm expression. Something about her felt different, but he could not understand what it was. He walked toward the small apartment where he lived with his son. The building was old, but the rent was low enough for him to manage. He opened the door quietly and saw Timo sleeping on the small couch. A blanket had slipped down toward the floor, so Morrow gently pulled it back up to cover him. Timo stirred and blinked his eyes open. "Papa, you came late last night," he said in a sleepy voice. Morrow smiled. "Yes, Timo. I had extra work." Timo yawned and rubbed his eyes. "Are we going to eat breakfast together?" "Of course," Morrow said. "I will make some warm food." He entered the small kitchen and began preparing simple porridge. As he stirred the pot, he kept thinking of Nia. He remembered the way she had looked at the sky, as if she expected something far away to call her. He remembered her strange words. She had said she did not belong here. She had also said she came from far away. The way she spoke did not sound like someone talking about another city. It sounded much larger. When breakfast was ready, Timo sat at the table and ate with a smile. He always enjoyed mornings with his father. Morrow tried to stay focused on the moment, but his mind still returned to Nia again and again. After breakfast, he took Timo to school. As Timo ran toward his friends, he waved back at his father with excitement. Morrow lifted his hand and waved in return. He loved his son more than anything. Nothing mattered to him more than keeping Timo safe. When the school bell rang, Morrow turned and began walking toward the shelter. He told himself he was only checking to make sure Nia was safe. Nothing more. She had been quiet and lost, and he could not ignore the feeling that she needed help. It was not just responsibility. It was something deeper, like an instinct telling him her story mattered. The shelter sat near a row of old buildings. A few people stood outside waiting for hot tea. When Morrow stepped inside, the smell of warm bread and soap filled the air. Nia sat at a small table near a window. She held a cup of water and stared at it as if she was studying it. She did not look confused. She looked thoughtful, almost like she was analyzing something. When she saw Morrow, she raised her head slowly. "You came back," she said. Morrow nodded. "I wanted to make sure you were all right." "Did you sleep well?" "I rested," she said in her calm voice. Morrow could not tell if that meant yes or no. Her emotions were hard to read. She sat with straight posture, her hands placed neatly on the table. She almost looked like someone who was trained to sit perfectly still. He sat down across from her. "Do you feel better this morning?" She looked at him with eyes that seemed to see more than a normal person should. "I am thinking," she said. "I have many questions." "What kind of questions?" Morrow asked kindly. "Questions about people," she said. "About how they live. About why they choose one path instead of another. About what gives them strength." Morrow frowned softly. "Those are deep questions. Did something make you think about these things?" Nia looked out the window. A bus passed by, and the noise echoed through the shelter. She watched it with interest. "I have watched people for a long time," she said, "but I did not understand many things. I am trying to understand them now." "Where were you watching them from?" Morrow asked. "Far away," she answered. Morrow leaned back a little. Her answers were strange, but she spoke them with complete honesty. He felt she was not trying to confuse him. She was simply speaking from her own world, whatever that world was. "Nia," he said gently, "I want to help you, but I need to understand what you mean when you talk about being far away. Are you from another country?" She shook her head. "Another continent?" Again she shook her head. Morrow sighed. Then where? She hesitated. Her eyes lowered as if she was choosing her words carefully. "Morrow," she said quietly, "if I tell you, you may not believe me." Morrow looked at her seriously. "I will listen," he said. "You do not have to hide anything." Before she answered, the shelter door opened and a worker entered carrying supplies. The sound made Nia pause. She waited until the worker passed and placed the boxes in a storage room. Only when the room grew quiet again did she speak. "I am part of a group," she said. A group that studies planets. A group that observes life in different places. Morrow blinked. Planets. You mean like scientists, yes, she said slowly. But not scientists from Earth. Morrow felt his heart skip. He tried to process her words. They sounded unreal, yet the way she said them was steady. She was not telling a joke. She was not confused. She spoke with clarity. You are saying you are from another world, he asked. Nia held his gaze without hesitation. Yes, Morrow sat back in his chair. His first thought was disbelief. His second thought was confusion. His third thought was fear, not of her but of what this meant. But Nia did not look dangerous. She did not look harmful. She looked calm and sincere. How did you get here? He asked after a long silence. Our team travels with advanced ships, she said. We observe Earth without revealing ourselves. We have done this for many years. Morrow rubbed his forehead. This was too much to take in. He had spent his life working simple jobs and raising his son. He never thought he would sit across from someone claiming to be from another world. Why were you on the bridge last night? He asked carefully. Nia lowered her eyes. Because I made a mistake, she said. I tried to warn my team about a great problem. They did not listen. They wanted to continue with a plan that will bring danger to Earth. I could not allow that. I left my team without permission. What kind of danger? Morrow asked. They want to control Earth. She said, not with force, with influence. They want to guide human progress. They believe humans are not ready to grow on their own. Morrow nodded slowly. But you disagree, yes, she said. I believe humans can grow with their own choices. I have watched them struggle and still rise again. I do not want Earth to lose its freedom. Morrow felt a mix of surprise and pride. He had never heard anyone talk about humans that way, especially someone claiming to be from another world. If you ran away from your team, where are they now? He asked. They are searching for me, she said. They expect me to obey their plan. But I cannot. Morrow looked at her with worry. Will they try to bring you back? Yes, she said. They are coming. They travel in secret, but I know their methods. They will look for signals from me. They will follow any sign of unusual activity. Morrow swallowed. Are we in danger? Nia shook her head. They will not harm you. They do not harm people. But they will take me if they find me. So you are hiding, yes? Morrow rested his hands on the table. He looked at her quietly, thinking of everything she had said. She was alone, far from her world, hunted by her own team, and trying to protect Earth. She had risked everything to warn someone, and somehow she had ended up on a bridge where he found her. Nia, he said softly, why did you trust me last night? She looked at him with a calm but thoughtful expression. You came to help even when you had nothing to gain. You were tired, but you still cared. I have watched humans for many years, but not many act the way you did. You showed real empathy. That is why I trusted you. Morrow felt his chest tighten with emotion. He had done what anyone should do. Yet she looked at him as if it meant something greater. What do you need now? Morrow asked. I need time, she said. Time to think, time to plan, and a place to stay where my team will not find me. Morrow stood up slowly. Come with me, he said. Nia looked confused. Where to? My home, Morrow said. It is small, but it is safe. My son is at school. You can rest there while we decide what to do next. You would bring me to your home? She asked. Yes, he said. I believe you, and I want to help. For the first time since he met her, Nia's expression softened a little. Not a full smile, but something close, something warm. Thank you, Morrow, she said quietly. They left the shelter together and walked along the quiet street. The sun was brighter now. Birds moved across the sky in slow patterns. Nia looked at everything with interest, as if she was seeing the world for the first time. As they approached the apartment, Morrow felt the weight of what he was doing. He was bringing someone from another world into his home. Someone who was running from a group that could arrive at any moment. But he felt no fear, only a strong sense of purpose. He opened the door and let Nia step inside. She looked around slowly, studying the small space with curiosity. She touched the wall, the table, and the old lamp as if she was learning from each object. You live simply, she said. Yes, Morrow answered. But it is my home. Nia nodded. It feels peaceful. Morrow felt a small smile grow on his face. Sit down. I will make tea. As the water warmed on the stove, Nia sat quietly and watched the steam rise. Morrow moved around the kitchen with calm steps. The simple routine helped him think clearly. He knew one thing for certain. Whatever Nia was hiding, whatever danger she feared, whatever warning she carried, he had become part of it now, and he was ready. Morrow placed the cups of tea on the small table in his apartment. The warm smell filled the air, mixing with the scent of old wood and simple home life. Nia sat on the couch with calm posture, her hands resting gently on her knees. She watched the steam rise from her cup as if it carried secrets she needed to study. Morrow sat across from her, his hands wrapped around his cup for warmth. His mind was full of questions. He wanted to ask all of them at once, but he waited. He wanted to understand Nia slowly so she would not feel pressured. For a long moment they sat in silence. Outside, a dog barked in the distance. A bus rolled down the street. Life continued normally, but inside that apartment, Morrow felt the air growing heavier with something hidden and strange. Finally he spoke. Nia, can you tell me more about your world? She lifted her head. What part do you want to know? Anything, Morrow said. Whatever you think I can understand. Nia looked at her cup again, thinking. My world is part of a human colony, she began. Long ago, humans traveled far across space. They built many new places to live. My world is one of them. We grew with different technology and different ideas. Morrow nodded slowly. So you are human, yes, she said. But our bodies have been shaped by many years in a place with different conditions. Our minds are trained differently. Our technology is more advanced. Still, we are connected to Earth by history. Then why study Earth in secret? Morrow asked. Nia breathed in softly. Earth is the origin. It is important for us to see how life grows here. But many in my group believe Earth grows too slowly. They think humans on Earth must be guided. Morrow leaned forward. Guided in what way? In the way they think life should advance, Nia said. They want to share ideas that will shape decisions. They want to influence leaders. They want to direct the future of Earth. Morrow frowned. But you said you disagree with them. Yes, she said. I believe growth should come from choice, not control. I believe humans can learn from their own challenges. My group wants to help, but their help would take away freedom. Morrow rubbed the back of his neck. He had always believed people should decide their own paths. Even when life was hard, choice mattered. Nia looked at him with steady eyes. You understand this idea without needing someone to teach you. That is why I trust you. Her words made Morrow feel something warm inside. Something like pride mixed with responsibility. Nia, what is this danger you mentioned yesterday? She placed her cup down carefully, as if preparing herself. My group plans to send a signal, she said. A soft one that passes through many devices. Phones, screens, radios. It will not hurt anyone, but it will enter data systems quietly. It will push small suggestions into important decisions. A small change in one place can grow into a large change later. So they want to guide Earth from far away, Morrow said. Yes, and I tried to stop them. They did not listen, so I escaped. I wanted to warn someone, anyone. Morrow felt the weight of her words settle onto his shoulders. Why warn me? He asked. I did not choose you first, she said. I came to Earth after leaving my ship. I tried to send a message from a quiet forest. I thought my words would reach someone wise. But the signal scattered. My team noticed it. They began searching. I panicked and ran. I walked for hours without a plan. I reached the bridge when the night grew cold. My thoughts felt heavy. I felt lost. She looked at him with soft eyes. You were the first person who spoke to me with care. You told me not to stand near danger. Your voice was steady even when you were tired. Your actions were pure. That made me trust you. Morrow looked down at his tea. He felt humbled. He had only done what felt right. You said your team is searching for you, he said. How will they find you? Nia turned her hand palm up. The skin looked pale at first, but then something changed. Faint glowing lines appeared on her skin. They formed patterns like gentle light rising through her veins. Morrow leaned closer with wide eyes. What is that? It is part of my design, she said. We use these lines to communicate through energy patterns. They help us work with our machines. When my team searches, they look for this type of signal. Morrow watched the light fade slowly until her hand looked normal again. He let out a soft breath he did not realize he had been holding. So they can track you through those patterns, yes, she said. But right now I'm not sending anything. As long as I stay calm, my energy stays quiet. They will still look for me, but they cannot find me unless I send a strong signal. Will they find this apartment? Morrow asked. No, she said. They do not search homes. They look for open spaces. They look for places where signals can travel easily. They will scan the sky and the ground. They will search near water, near hills, near long bridges. They will not think to look inside the home of a normal person. Morrow nodded, relieved. Then you can stay for now. Nia looked around his apartment again. Your home is small, she said. But it feels safe. Morrow smiled. Thank you. He stood and walked to a cupboard. He took out a clean blanket and placed it beside her. If you need rest later, you can use this. Nia touched the blanket lightly. Thank you, Morrow. For a few minutes they sat quietly. Morrow took a deep breath and decided to ask another question. Nia, when you said you saw a signal last night in the sky, what did that mean? She looked out the window as if checking the sky again. It was a faint sign from my team. They use small crafts to travel through the clouds. When they send scanning patterns, I can feel them. They cannot see me yet, but they are close. Morrow's chest tightened. Close? How close? Not above us, she said, but near the hills at the edge of the city. They are moving slowly. Morrow felt concern rise inside him. What will they do if they find you? They will ask me to return, she replied. They will say they need me. They will say the plan is important. They will speak with gentle words, but they do not listen to disagreement. And if you refuse, they will take me back. They do not harm people, but they can take someone without asking if they believe it is right. Morrow shook his head. He could not imagine anyone being taken away without having a choice. He stood and walked to the window. The street below looked ordinary. A man walked his dog. A woman carried a bag of groceries. A cyclist rode past. Nothing in the scene suggested that a hidden craft from far away was scanning the city. Nia joined him at the window. She stood a little behind him, watching the world outside. Morrow, she said softly, I need your help. He turned. What kind of help? I must send a message, she said. A very small message. To warn Earth, not a loud one. Only a simple warning that will prepare people who watch the skies. But if I send it now, my team will detect me. I need a way to hide the signal inside something natural. Something my team will not expect. Morrow thought for a moment. What kind of natural thing? Something with energy. Something strong enough to cover my signal. Morrow placed his hand on his chin. He looked around the room and then back at her. What about the power plant near the river? He asked. It produces strong energy. The whole area is full of electric noise. Nia's eyes widened a little. That could work. If I send my message near the plant, the strong power will hide my pattern. My team may not see it. They will think it is only the plant. Morrow felt something like excitement rise in him. We can go there tonight, Nia nodded. Yes, after sunset the workers reduce activity. There will be less movement, fewer people, and more freedom for us to send the message. Morrow felt both nervous and determined. Then we must prepare. Nia sat back down on the couch. She closed her eyes and breathed slowly. The faint glowing lines returned on her arms, but they stayed soft and controlled. What are you doing? Morrow asked. Practicing, she said. I must keep my energy calm until tonight. If I accidentally send a strong signal now, my team will come immediately. Morrow moved around the kitchen, cleaning dishes and placing things in order. He liked keeping his home neat when something important was coming. It helped calm his thoughts. As hours passed, Nia explained more about her world. She talked about tall silver buildings, floating bridges, and fields that shone with gentle light at night. She spoke of learning centers where children studied stars from a young age. She described machines that moved without sound and homes that changed shape to fit the needs of each family. Morrow listened with wonder. He tried to imagine Timo playing in a place like that. It sounded peaceful, organized, and full of knowledge. Yet Nia looked unhappy when she described the rules. Life was controlled even if it looked perfect. They removed mistakes, she said. But mistakes help people grow. When afternoon passed into evening, Morrow prepared a simple meal. Nia ate quietly and thanked him after each bite. She seemed calmer than before. Her eyes held a steady sense of purpose. When the sky grew dark, Morrow put on his jacket. "Are you ready?" he asked. Nia stood and adjusted her sleeves. Yes. They stepped outside. The air felt cool and fresh. Streetlights glowed gently, guiding their path. Morrow walked beside Nia with firm steps, aware that each moment was important. As they moved closer to the river, Nia looked up at the sky again. She stopped walking. "What is it?" Morrow asked. "They are scanning," she said. "But the scan is weak. They are far at the moment." "Then we still have time," Morrow said. They continued walking. The hum of the power plant grew louder as they approached. The tall structure rose above them like a giant metal tower. Light flickered from inside, and the air buzzed gently with energy. Morrow woke early the next morning with a strange weight inside his chest. It was not fear, but it was close. It was the kind of feeling a person gets when life has suddenly changed, and there is no way to return to how things were. He dressed quietly and checked on his son, who was fast asleep, then looked at Nia. She was awake already, sitting on the old sofa in the corner of the small shelter room. Her hands rested on her knees, and the faint lines on her skin glowed in a soft pattern. She greeted him in her steady voice. Morrow wanted to say many things. He wanted to ask if Earth was truly in danger. He wanted to ask if the strange lights she spoke of would come soon. He wanted to ask why she chose him, a tired single father who barely had enough energy to make it through each day. But he said none of those things. Instead, he asked if she slept at all. Nia answered that she rested in her own way. She said her mind worked differently from his. She was not a machine, but she had been shaped by advanced knowledge. She could slow her thoughts and enter a calm state that was equal to sleep. Morrow nodded and sat beside her. He asked if today would be the day everything changed. She looked out the small window before she answered. Her voice was quiet when she said she believed so. The morning moved slowly. Morrow packed a small bag with basic items, food for his son, and a few important papers. He did this not because he knew what would happen, but because the unknown was harder to face with empty hands. His son asked if they were going somewhere. Morrow smiled and said they might take a small walk later. The boy accepted this because he trusted his father completely. As the sun rose higher, Nia stepped outside. She looked at the sky as if she could see something within it that no one else could. Her glowing lines brightened, and she asked Morrow to come near. She said she sensed movement far above the clouds. She said her people were close. Morrow felt the air shift around them. It was not wind. It was something else, something quiet but strong. Like the world was taking a slow breath. By noon, the sky had changed. A silver shimmer appeared far above. At first, it looked like sunlight bouncing off a thin cloud. But the shimmer grew bigger and brighter. People walking nearby stopped and stared. Some took out phones to record it, thinking it was just a strange weather event. Morrow knew better. Nia knew far more than he did. She stepped closer to Morrow and spoke in a calm voice. She said the craft was searching for her. She said they had tracked her signal, even though she tried to hide it. Morrow felt his heart beat faster. He looked down at his son and held his hand tightly. He asked Nia what they should do. She answered that they needed to reach the old steel bridge again, because it had strong support beams that would block part of the craft's scan. It would give her the short time she needed to send a coded message using the energy inside her. Morrow nodded without hesitation. He trusted her even though he understood only parts of what she said. They began walking toward the bridge. The noises around them grew louder because people kept pointing upward. The shimmer in the sky shifted, as if something behind the clouds wanted to break through. Morrow walked faster. His son asked if the light was a friendly thing. Morrow squeezed his hand and said they would stay safe as long as they stayed together. The boy accepted that answer because he believed his father could face anything. When they reached the half-silent area near the steel bridge, Nia stopped and scanned the sky again. Her glowing lines moved in sharper patterns. She told Morrow that the craft would lower soon. It would not touch the ground because its design did not allow landing on soil. Instead, it would hang above the city and scan for her signal. Morrow asked if the craft was dangerous. Nia explained that the craft itself was not meant to harm. It carried explorers like her, but the team who controlled it now wanted to pull Earth into their control. They were not planning open harm, but they wanted to shape Earth's future without Earth's voice. Morrow understood this was still a threat. They moved under the wide belly of the steel bridge. Shadows covered them, and the deep beams above them created a strong metal frame. Nia stood between the beams and spread her hands. The glowing lines brightened until they almost looked like sunlight. Morrow told his son to stay close to him. The air above them hummed in a strange tone. It was not loud, but it vibrated in their bodies like a distant echo. Then the craft finally appeared. It slipped through the clouds like a silver seed pushed by gentle hands. It had no wings and no visible engines. It was smooth and curved, shaped like a drop of water turned sideways. It floated above the city with quiet grace. People below gasped and pointed. Some called others to look. Cars stopped. Birds changed direction. For a moment the world seemed to pause. Morrow felt his chest tighten. He looked at Nia. Her eyes were fixed on the craft. She said in a calm voice that the craft was sending a retrieval signal. It was calling to her. It wanted her to step out into the open. She shook her head and said she would not follow their orders. She said she would send her own signal instead. Morrow asked if she needed anything from him. She looked at him, and for the first time her steady voice softened. She said she needed courage from him. She said she needed him to stand close because she needed someone grounded in human strength. Morrow stepped beside her and placed his hand on her shoulder. She closed her eyes and began to guide the energy inside her glowing lines. The light on her skin moved in circles. It pulsed in a rhythm that grew stronger. She raised her hands slowly. The beams above them reflected the glow. The craft reacted at once. A beam of pale light extended downward, searching the area. It did not touch them because the bridge beams blocked the direct path. The craft seemed to adjust. It shifted slightly. The searching beam widened. Nia's glowing lines reached full brightness. She took a deep breath and released a wave of silent signal. It traveled upward with a speed no human eye could follow. The craft paused in midair. The pale searching beam flickered. The silver surface rippled with a soft pulse. Nia sent another wave of coded energy. Her hands shook a little, but she stayed strong. Morrow felt a strange pressure in the air. It was not painful, but it was heavy, like invisible weight pressing gently on everything. The craft responded to Nia's signal by reducing its scanning beam. It hovered with a stillness that felt almost alive. Nia whispered that her code was working. She said she had gained temporary access to the craft's central mind. She needed only a few more moments, but the craft began to move again. The smaller lights appeared on its sides. They glowed brighter and brighter. Nia said those lights were part of the craft's communication guard. They were trying to block her. She clenched her jaw and focused harder. The glowing lines on her skin flickered but did not fade. Morrow stepped closer, ready to steady her if needed. His son held his leg tightly, watching everything with wide eyes. Nia raised her arms higher and released a final surge of coded signal. The lines on her skin flashed once, like a burst of bright metal sparks. Then she lowered her hands and breathed out slowly. The craft reacted at once. The guard lights dimmed. The pale searching beam shut itself down. The craft froze for a long moment. Then it released a soft blue ring of light that spread across the sky like a calm wave. Nia said the blue ring confirmed her success. She had overridden the command system. The craft was no longer following the orders of those who wanted control. It was now in a neutral state. Morrow felt relief flood through him. He asked what they should do next. Nia said she needed to reach the craft. She needed to give the final command from inside. She explained that the craft would open a small transport field once she stepped into open space. She looked at Morrow and asked if he could walk with her to a clear spot so the craft could see her. Morrow looked at his son, then at the world above them. He nodded. Together they left the shade of the bridge and walked toward the open area beside the river. The craft lowered slightly, as if acknowledging Nia. The blue ring pulsed gently. A small circle of soft light formed on the ground. Nia said it was the transport field. Before she stepped into it, she looked at Morrow and his son. She thanked them. She said their kindness, support, and trust made her stronger than any advanced knowledge she carried. Morrow told her she was not alone anymore. Nia smiled, a small but real smile. She stepped into the circle of light. It rose around her like a calm breeze made of bright air. The craft opened a space within its smooth surface and drew her upward. Morrow watched her rise. His son held his hand tightly. The world around them was silent. The craft waited in stillness as if preparing for the final moment that would decide the future of Earth. The transport field lifted Nia into the quiet sky, and Morrow stood holding his son's hand as he watched her rise. The silver craft above them waited with a stillness that felt almost thoughtful. The soft blue light around the opening faded as Nia entered the craft. The surface closed behind her with a smooth movement, as if the ship had taken one calm breath. Morrow stood silently for a moment. He did not know if he should feel fear, hope, or confusion. His son looked up at him and asked if Nia would be safe. Morrow placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder and said he believed she would be safe. He spoke this because he needed his son to feel steady, but also because he wanted to believe it himself. The sky remained quiet above them, and there was no sign that the craft wanted to move again. The air around them felt lighter now. The strange pressure they had felt earlier was gone. Birds began to fly again across the river. People in the distance were still talking and pointing at the silver craft, but they stayed far away. Morrow knew he and his son had to wait. He knew Nia needed time to finish what she started. Inside the craft, Nia walked through a long, curved passage that glowed with soft blue light. She moved with purpose. She knew exactly where she needed to go. The central chamber waited at the far end, connected to the heart of the ship. She could feel the presence of the craft as if it was paying attention to her steps. It recognized her now, not as a runaway explorer, but as someone holding the highest access code. When she reached the central chamber, a wide circular platform lit up beneath her feet. A gentle voice from the craft spoke inside her mind. It was not a real voice. It was a message transmitted directly to her thoughts. It asked if she wished to continue with the override. It asked if she understood that her choice would disconnect the craft from the team that controlled it from the distant colony. Nia answered by placing her glowing hands on the smooth control sphere in front of her. The sphere brightened at her touch. She released the coded command that she had shaped with great care. The craft accepted it at once. The chamber lights shifted into a soft white color. The craft informed her that the override was active and stable. It said it would cut communication with the colony until further notice. Nia stood quietly, feeling a strange mix of relief and sadness. The colony had shaped her. They had given her knowledge. They had given her purpose. But they had also made choices that ignored the freedom of others. They wanted control, not cooperation. She knew Earth deserved a chance to choose its own path. Nia requested the craft to show her the state of the skies around Earth. The walls of the chamber changed into a wide image of the sky. The craft hovered peacefully over the river and the steel bridge. She saw Morrow and his son standing close together. Her chest warmed with a feeling she could not fully name. She admired their courage. She admired the way Morrow had stepped into danger without any special ability or training. He acted with heart, which meant more than any advanced knowledge. The craft asked if she wanted to return to the colony for official judgment. Nia answered clearly that she had no interest in returning at this time. The craft accepted her decision. It asked if she wished to speak with Earth's people. She shook her head. She said Earth was not ready for open contact. She said they needed time to grow without pressure from outside forces. The craft listened and agreed. Outside, Morrow continued to watch the sky. His son tugged at his hand and asked if Nia would come back to the ground. Morrow did not know the answer, but he told his son they would see soon. The craft shifted slightly, and a long band of soft white light formed at its center. Then, with slow grace, it lowered a small transport circle back toward the ground. The circle of light touched the earth, and Nia slowly stepped out of it. She walked toward Morrow and his son. The craft did not move away. It remained above them, watching quietly. When Nia approached, Morrow felt a wave of relief. He had feared she might not return, but here she was, calm and steady. His son ran to Nia and asked if she was all right. Nia kneeled and smiled at him. She said she was all right and that he had been very brave. The boy smiled widely at her praise. Morrow asked Nia if everything was finished. She nodded softly. She explained that the craft was now free from harmful orders. She said the craft would not allow any plan that could shape or limit Earth. Morrow felt a deep breath leave his chest. He thanked her for everything she had done. Nia stood and looked at the sky. She said she still had work to do. She said she had to guide the craft away from Earth's airspace without causing fear. She also needed to send a silent message to the colony, explaining that Earth was not to be touched or guided without consent. She said the colony would not be pleased, but they would listen. Morrow asked how she knew. She replied that truth carries its own strength, and the colony respected strength above all things. She turned back to Morrow and looked at him closely. She asked him if he remembered the first moment on the bridge when he saved her. Morrow nodded. He said he simply could not walk away. Nia told him that his choice on that night changed more than he imagined. She said his act of kindness opened a path that led her to trust him. She said without his help, Earth might have faced a very different future. Morrow felt humbled by her words. He told her he only did what he hoped any person would do. Nia smiled and said not many people would have acted with such compassion under stress. She reached out and touched the back of his hand. She thanked him in a voice that carried deep sincerity. The craft released a soft tone, calling to her. It was time for her to continue her work. She looked at Morrow's son and gently brushed the boy's hair. She told him to follow his father's example of courage and kindness. The boy promised he would. Nia stepped into the transport circle once more. Morrow felt a strong ache in his chest. He did not want to lose a friend who had become so important in such a short time. He asked if he would ever see her again. Nia paused and looked at him with calm eyes. She said she believed they would meet again one day. She said the stars were wide, but paths often crossed when they were meant to. The transport circle lifted her into the sky. Morrow watched her rise again toward the craft. This time he felt no fear. He felt a gentle sense of peace. The craft opened its smooth surface and let her inside. Once she was gone, the silver shell closed like a calm wave settling on the ocean. The craft hovered for a long silent moment above the river. Then the soft blue light pulsed one last time. The craft slowly ascended higher and higher. It slipped back into the clouds with the same quiet grace with which it had arrived. The sky returned to its natural blue color. People in the distance cheered softly or whispered in awe. Morrow and his son stood under the warm afternoon sun. Time seemed to move normally again. The world felt wider than before. His son asked if this meant they were safe. Morrow nodded. He told his boy that Earth would be safe for now and that they had played a small part in that. The boy held his father's hand with pride. They walked home slowly. Morrow's mind was full, not with stress, but with a new understanding of life. He had spent years thinking that he was just a man living day to day, doing his best to care for his son. Now he realized that even an ordinary person could make a difference. In the grand scale of the universe, his choice to help someone on a dark night had changed the path of entire worlds. When they reached home, Morrow sat on the sofa and let out a long breath. His son curled beside him. For the first time in a long while, the world felt calm. Morrow closed his eyes and thought of Nia. He hoped she would find peace on her journey. He hoped she would know that Earth would always remember her courage. That night, when Morrow looked out the small window before sleep, he thought he saw a single bright star glowing stronger than the rest. He felt a warm sense of connection. He whispered a simple hope that Nia was safe among the stars. And he knew that if the day ever came when she returned, he would welcome her not as a strange visitor from another world, but as a friend who helped shape a kinder future. The night settled gently over the city, and life continued. But Morrow, his son, and the silent stars above all carried the memory of a moment when courage and kindness shifted the path of the universe.